Hello there, I am Marcus Smith. If you're watching this video, you probably already knew that, so hello, nice to see you again. If you didn't, then nice to meet you and welcome to my channel. So I am starting a new project, kind of a series where I'll be interviewing people, and the goal is to talk to people, have these kind of casual conversations about people's life story. The name of this, you ask? TalkieTime. And yes, I'm going to be using this fake blow-up microphone because I think it's amazing, though not for this video. So part of what I want to do with these interviews is I love talking to people. I think it is one of the most fascinating, enjoyable things, and especially when you get to have these deeper conversations about, like, who are you? What do you care about? What's your life story? And things like that. And so the goal will be to get into those kinds of discussions in a way where I'm interviewing and kind of listening and asking questions and bringing that out to make it a little easier to tell those kinds of stories, because I enjoy listening. So to get started though, I was thinking about it and I was like, how should I make this first introductory video? And I think the best way to give you an idea of the kinds of conversations that I want to have is maybe just to tell you a little bit of a story about myself. So if you do know me, then you know that I recently tried to start my own company that was built around trying to help people make friends and become friends with people who live near them. If you don't know me, well, then yes, I tried this, and yes, I failed. I was like, is there a nice way to say this? No, it just didn't. I wasn't able to make it work. So spoiler alert, I think. But what I wanted to talk about was not so much like the process of trying to build a company, which was really exhausting, but rewarding in its own way. But something that I think would be more interesting is kind of, well, what led me to that to begin with? Why did I care enough to go out and to try to do this thing that's incredibly hard, that I knew there was a high likelihood of it not working out, kind of statistically? And to do that, let's go back to my childhood, which is to say, I grew up in a rural area, tiny little city, population under 400 people. So there's not that many people that I grew up around, and I was homeschooled. So my social network was limited to my immediate neighbors, my siblings and parents, and my church. The church that I attended, there was not many people my age. It was mostly just my siblings, who I spent all day with every day, and as much as I love them, it's nice to have people outside your family to talk to sometimes. No offense, family members, if you're watching this. So didn't have many friends in that department. We had neighbors that I grew up around, but for varying reasons, we'd be friends and then not be friends, and so I ended up spending lots and lots and lots of time by myself. For the most part, this was fine because I loved reading, and I would basically read a book every single day. So in that way, it was fine. But in terms of having friends, it was not fine. It was not great. And so very early on, I kind of was realizing, like, hey, when you're not talking to anyone and you want to be socializing and hang out with people and all the things that you do, but you can't, it feels really, really bad. My mom was very thoughtful, and she was like, all right, like, let's help this kid find friends. And so she like looked up things that I could do, and eventually I started participating in an online chat room for Christian kids. which was just as which was just as hectic as that probably sounds. My mom was being very thoughtful, but let's just say my interest in psychology and helping people, a lot of it comes from speaking to people where I was like, wow, I thought my life was tough. It could be a lot worse. Eventually, though, and I keep going back and forth on whether I want to include this, but I think it's very much a part of my story and very much a part of like kind of the emotion that feeds into all of this. So there was one point where I had neighbor friends, kind of moved apart from them, online friends, kind of moved apart from them, and I was experiencing loneliness again at a very young age. I was probably like 12, and I was like wanting so badly to have somebody to talk to be around, that I remember just like physically like reaching out and touching the wall like drywall with paint on it, like for comfort, like hoping that would be similar to like, you know, being with a human being. It was hard. And the past 2 times I've told this, I've cried. So it's hard. Not this time though. All that to say, or maybe let me rephrase that. So kind of fast forwarding a little bit, because off and on throughout my middle school years and high school years, I continued to have this experience where I'd like have friends finally, and then something would happen and it would all kind of fall apart. And so fast forward to college, and college was like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by people. It was a complete shock, like nothing I had ever experienced before, because it was like there are people everywhere, not just people, but people like my own age. And it was like, I felt like a kid in a candy store, because it's like, oh my God, there's so many people I can talk to. And I think like if you know me, this is like, it's kind of funny because you've seen me interact. I go around, I like to talk to people, I like to meet people. So just imagine that version of Marcus, like for really like the first time being placed into an environment where I could just run around and talk to everybody. By the way, I'm sure I was so annoying. And I did not know a lot of social cues that I've since had to learn. But so you have this in my life, and I'm like, whoa, life doesn't have to be super lonely. You can have community, and you can get to know people, and you can be around people. And then, as anyone who's gone to college and then graduated or left can tell you, then there's post-college. And all that's gone. And all your friends move away. And maybe a few are still around. And for me, that was the case. I had a couple that were still around, but we didn't hang out anywhere near as often. And you go and you get a job. And if you're lucky, you'll work with some people who are your age, but that's not a guarantee. And many of my jobs, there were not people around my age. And so I kind of have repeatedly found myself in this position where it's just me. And I'm laughing because I'm laughing because it's really sad. And I'm laughing because it's sad, because it's like, it sucks. But what can you do about it? Like, you don't have control. I don't have control. And so there were things that I started to do because I was like, it has to be better than this. There has to be something out here better than just being alone all the time. And so for me, then I literally like Googled like, how do you make friends as an adult? And looking for things like public spaces. One of the things that I ended up gravitating towards was an app called Meetup, where you can meet people who have similar interests and things like that. Eventually I ended up setting up my own and building this space for it. And then the pandemic hit. It was like, oh, why does nothing that I do ever stick? And I was like, okay, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. Like, it cannot keep being like this. Or at the very least, like, when those friends fall away, like, there has to be a way to, like, build those friendships faster so that you're not sitting there for months at a time staring at your hands because you got nothing better to do. Ultimately, this led to me attempting to start my company. Social Port didn't work. Valuable experience. So what I wanted to get at kind of through all of this was, for me, I've done some things that probably aren't the most rational things to do, but I did them because it matters to me, because there's a personal story behind it, and there's a lot of emotion that has pushed me forward to try to resolve that and to try to make meaning of it. And these are the kinds of conversations that I want to have with you and with members of my audience over time. So who will I be interviewing for these? Well, I want to interview you. I want to interview you, and I want to interview people that you know. So in the description below this video, there will be a link to a form where if you are interested in being interviewed, you can just put in your name and contact information, and I will reach out to you. You can also nominate people that you know. I just ask, if you're going to nominate someone, it is indeed someone that you know and would be comfortable being like, hey, I've nominated you for this, like, push. Because then they're going to walk up to me, and while I'm holding a blow-up microphone, they're going to be like, who the heck is this guy? But it's okay. I'm friendly most of the time. So, again, I want to introduce my project. I'll be starting this video series, TalkieTime. I would love to interview you. I'd love to interview people you know. In order for this to work, I will need guests. So please consider it. That would help me out a ton. I think stories are kind of what gives us meaning in our lives. They're what drive us and motivate us and inspire us too. So I'm so looking forward to this. I'm so looking forward to talking to people and all of the conversations that I'm going to have and that you'll have with me. So thank you so much for watching this, and hopefully I will talk to you soon.